The big question is the NDPP that we have wanted and the NDPP director that we have got. The VB arrest that we've wanted and the VB arrest that we got. What have we got? What have we got? We got, among those who were arrested, the former VBS chair, Chifiwa Matodzi, right? And a couple of token executives who were working at the VBS versus the politicians, right? The politicians are out there. Remember, there were about 8 mayors which were forced to be let go in the province of Limpopo. Among them were, who was among them? Okay, folks, here we go. Among all this political news publishers, the latest one that I'm seeing here is from the Daily Tabloid. Hey, headlines: VBS saga leaves ANC house divided. Right? This is just what's happening. This is amid the executives of VBS and folks who were in charge of this mutual bank are now rounded up. They were out on bail, 100,000 rands worth, and were the ANC politicians who have been implicated? Not one. Yep. So the ANC doesn't arrest its own. This article here reads, it's by Mashudu Sadike, 28th June 2020. VBS saga leaves ANC house divided. Out of all this news publishing houses, it's from the Daily Sun. No, it ain't voodoo, child. It ain't voodoo story. The article reads, the ruling party's deputy chairperson and former mayor of the Vembe district municipality, Florence Razilani, and treasurer Denim Caesar were named in Advocate Terry Mutau's The Great Bank Heist report that blew the lead of the VBS saga in 2018 and have since been suspended from their positions, including all ANC activities, by the Organization Integrity Commission chaired by George Mashamba. Okay. Another excerpt. Lekhanyani confirmed that the Provincial Executive Committee had a virtual sitting on Tuesday to discuss the matter of the duo returning to their positions after some members suggested they return to their position as deputy chairperson and treasurer, respectively. He insisted Msiza and Radzilani could only get back to office if they had cleared their names. Mr. Lekhanyani is the provincial chair of the ANC in the Limpopo province, obviously. Lekhanyani also took a swipe at the ANC's 4th largest region in the province, the Pitamukaba region, that is calling for the reinstallment of the 2 leaders. He was referring to when the region, led by its chairperson and executive mayor of the Capricorn District Municipality, Joe Mpe, took to Lutuli House late last year to protest against the suspension of the duo and called out the chairperson of the Integrity Commission, George Mashamba. Spokesperson of the Pitamukaba region, Jimmy Machaka, insisted Razilani and Msiza have nothing to answer and should be reinstated. So yeah, there you have it, right? So remember, in this VBS saga, there were other 6 Limpopo mayors who were told to go, you know. So amid this situation where the executives and so forth at the VBS bank are being arrested, You have an active political factions who are now pro the ex-mayors, right, to be brought back to the fold and go back to their work. And then you have those who are against that, in this time where I think it's been over a year where the head of the NDPP, was to just come out there up in the afternoon or at 7 p.m. on your television screen, seeing major politicians in handcuffs thrown into the police vans and going to the police stations. But folks, it never happens, and don't even expect that. Where you have the president of the party belonging to the very same party that is governing, the executive, the cabinet, majority governing, and then the same story in the parliament where the same political party is in charge. It's not happening, folks. Remember how many votes we had in parliament when they were trying to boot out President Zuma from being a president. He was being defended by the same political party. Well, right now, obviously, they're not talking much about him. They're on to the next one. Now, let's talk a little bit about Shamila Batoyi, would we? She began her career in private practice, followed by 15 years in the role of Director of Public Prosecution in KwaZulu-Natal, DPP. She was described as a tigress when she led the prosecution of Proteas captain Hansi Cronje at the King Commission of Inquiry into the cricket match fixing in 2000. Shamila Batoyi was also chosen to be in a high-level team appointed by former President Nelson Mandela to investigate apartheid-era hit squad activities. She has also been a senior legal advisor to the prosecutor at the International Criminal Court since 2009. So yeah, we all know the ICC, International Criminal Court. Obviously, it has no borders. It doesn't pay no allegiance to any country. I'm comfortable with, it's all water under the bridge though, but I'm just comfortable in having a leader, in the NDPP as someone who, has never worked for your ICCs and stuff. These are organizations which that are not, loyal to a specific country. So I'm expecting really nothing, in the future when it comes to Miss Shamila Batoyi, obviously, So let's go back to the time when the president then had about, obviously after the interviews for the hopefuls for the NDPP, 5 of them were then contenders to be picked by the president. There was Siyabulela Mapoma, Simpiwa Mlojwa, Rodney Dikok, Shamila Batoyi, and Andre Johnson. And I remember very well that the public liked Andre Johnson. She's the prosecutor who worked with Gerinel in the Oscar Pistorius murder trial and was in the team that convicted Jackie Silebi back in 2010. Well, at least under her belt, we know there was one politician who was convicted. So you can imagine if she was selected, she probably was going to be in the thick of things, and you'd see politicians being in handcuffs soon. That's just my take. But now, after a year of quite, crickets in the NDPP. All of a sudden, some token leader of VBS then trotted along to be on good night, good television watching of folks saying, wow, finally justice is coming through, But it's not happening, folks. It's not happening, folks. And I saw when one of the journalists were asking, the Hawks and saying, so they were specific and started asking about those mayors who are now being suspended, and they were asking, so when are those guys going to be, when are all in general the politicians, when are the politicians are going to be investigated, and what did we hear? Well, we're not going to leave no stone unturned, or until we get to the bottom of it. So we generally, they were just wishy-washy instead of going straight to the point and say, this is what we're doing. We're investigating the politicians, but same story. Those politicians still have the same leverage. They have the same numbers of supporters. And it's a game of numbers where you can see that if we touch this certain politician in around this municipality, around this area, then we are not standing a good chance of having a number of electorate under our belt. We're not going to be having many votes in this area, because if we target these politicians, regardless of whether they might have committed crime, we're going to have a problem. So it's a game of numbers. So that's why most politicians are not touched. You're just going to hear rhetoric and nothing else would happen. And then the most two, I guess, the stars of the VBS talk in terms of this Terry Mutau report, it's the former executive mayor of the Vembe municipality in Limpopo, Florence Radzilani. It's interesting. I stumbled upon an article from Mail and Guardian on the 15th of March 2019, which just says ex-VBS mayor wants 38 million. You'll think that she's demanding for money, but as you read the story, it's where she's basically talking about going to court to get her name cleared and suing for 38 million. So I don't know what has happened since she was trying to get her name cleared and so forth. And yeah, that's just the story. The interesting thing now that's happening is that the ANC now vows not to side with the party member implicated in the VBS scandal. So we're going to be seeing this getting more and more heated up and politicized as we get closer and closer to your national and local elections in a few years that are coming. Now, back to the top 5 which were chosen. Like I said, Andre Johnson was the favorite to the people of South Africa. I saw her in the stand when the government was appealing against Judge Masipa's decision, in terms of giving a certain number of years for sentence to Oscar Pistorius, and the government was not pleased with that, and that's why I saw Andre Johnson stepping up in a very difficult court, I think the Court of Appeal, under the late Judge Busielo, where she was just getting hammered, but she stood up and she presented a case, and eventually the state got more or less the conviction that they wanted to have. I'm going to roll a video of Andre Johnson.
Of vulnerability and anxiety.
But can I interrupt you? She deals with that in her judgment. Look at page 423. She acknowledges the circumstances in this matter have changed. as accused, has now been found guilty of murder, dolously spirituality, which is a more serious offense than culpable homicide. She deals with that.
It is so. I'm not saying, Justice Basiello, that she did not consider the judgment of this court at all. Our argument is simply this, that
Well,
in certain aspects...
I asked a question. In her judgment that we have to take on appeal, where did she err?
And that's
sorry,
the...
maybe
sorry.
just to follow up on Basiello's question. I look at the judgment, and Judge Masipa seems to talk about remorse. Are you in a position to address us on that?
As the court pleases. With regards the aspect of remorse, we found that the court found that the respondent had genuine remorse. However, it is clear from this honorable court's judgment that an essential ingredient for genuine remorse is missing, namely a reason from the respondent for firing the 4 fatal shots. On 3 pertinent occasions, this honorable court, in its appeal judgment at paragraph 17, 49 and 53.
What did Mr. Pretorius do to try and show remorse?
As the court pleases, he said, I am
He
sorry.
made various attempts to talk to the family. He apologized publicly in court.
As the court
The
pleases,
same comes with me. He tried to talk to them and they refused to talk to him. What more could he have done?
it is so. One does not say he is not saying that he is sorry, but one cannot elevate his regret and his sympathy to that of remorse. The test
And
for
this
remorse...
has, is it not a semantic, leading us into a semantic cobweb? The man stands in open because I apologize. I did something very horrible. He tries to communicate with the family. How do you verbalize your remorse?
taking the court into his confidence
He
and
did.
saying,
He
in the
apologized before the
absence,
trial started in court. He did.
as the court
It's
pleases,
there on record.
but without more, that is not genuine remorse.
What
And
more?
What I'm
What
saying
more should
is
he have
that,
done? I'm interested. What more should he have done?
for me, he should have taken the court into his confidence, and even if he didn't, when he had the opportunity in his consultations with Professor Scholes, what he could and ought to have done was said, okay,
Don't you
The
want
court
to
has
leave that
found
to
me
us to
guilty of
evaluate that
murder?
evidence because it's on record?
as the court pleases, it's simply but to say that in so doing, he should have taken the confidence of the court and said, this is why I did it. That is what we want him to say. This is why I did it.
Still
Because
on
with
that
nothing more, Judge Sariti, then there is no true, genuine, gut-wrenching remorse.
Wakwetshwa enkantolo
No,
no previous convictions.
anginazo. Ngilala namehla avaliwe bayi-2. Akekho ozongena athi udinga isofa yami ngoba ngithatha imali yakhe ngiyakolota, akukho lokho.
Uyasikhuluma isiZulu.
Ngiyanibongela.
Khuluma esikamthaniya.
Thank you, Chair.
And you can see he also is fluent with one of our 11 languages, which is isiZulu, very fluent. So it would have been interesting, even when in court, when other people speak in other languages, she wouldn't then need an interpreter for the language. She seemed to get a nice grasp of the language. So it's quite interesting. And yeah, that's just my take. I believe that most people nowadays, since there's just been allegations of corruptions, which are always on politicians. All politicians are always being alleged to commit fraud and so forth, throughout all the years, and we've never seen no politician being in handcuffs and convicted, with the exception of Jackie Celeb by Andre Johnson. She was at the helm of it. So we'll see, because right now it's same old, You have people who are alleged to have committed fraud and crime, like the current mayor of Johannesburg, whom Mashaba had said to have written the letter to the president, Cyril Ramaphosa, and those same people are back. You know, they are working. You know, so obviously the public trust is low in this regard when it comes to seeing politicians going to have their day in court and justice prevailing. It never happens. One hopes that one day we'll be able to see that. So yeah, that's my take. Thank you for watching the Mamuji Show, and I'm out.